Romeo and Juliet in Performance aims to give students not only a better understanding of Shakespeare's play, but also what it means to interpret text for performance. It is an innovative new resource which uses specially developed software to draw students into Shakespeare's classic. The activities encourage independent learning and focus on ways in which extracts from the play can be staged and performed. It reflects the GCSE English requirement that students make their own interpretations of the play, and also realises that there can be many valid interpretations of the same lines. Teachers can plot their own route through the material, using it as appropriate to fit the needs of the specific group they are teaching. From whole class exploration using the interactive whiteboard, through to paired or group learning, the material uses digital technology as a genuine tool for learning rather than just simply a passive viewing experience. The approach of Romeo and Juliet encourages both critical and creative thinking and is structured into 4 sections. Focusing on different interpretations of Act 2, Scene 3, students are provided with this scene from the 4 feature films which have been made of the play, plus 2 specially commissioned versions of the scene, directed by Professor Michael Cordner of York University's Department of Theatre, Film and Television. The first section of the resource, the idea, considers the concept of performance starting from the text itself. The students are introduced to the scene that they will be studying in depth. An activity towards the end of this section asks students to make predictions on what they think the importance of the scene might be, as well as offer some initial ideas about the characters themselves and the relationship between them. It also asks students to think about how they might interpret the 2 characters of Romeo and Friar Lawrence and how this might affect the way in which the action of the scene might be presented. In the second section, the scene, the activities are key to understanding of the text itself. In the shape of the scene, students are asked to describe not just the action they see, but also the key themes which emerge: love, conflict, choices, relationships. This activity is important as when, in later sections, students are asked to analyse filmed interpretations. They are able to see how amending the text might well change the themes and ideas which the interpretation highlights or omits completely. This scene also raises the performance issue of voice and how Shakespeare's words might be read or performed. Students are given 5 different recordings of the same lines being read in different ways. Having thought about how these interpretations might affect the way in which an audience might understand what is happening or being said, pairs of students are asked of other ways of speaking these lines. In this section, the key issue of characterisation is also examined, particularly in relation to the friar and the 2 ways in which we have decided to interpret the scene. The emphasis is on necessity to back up their interpretations with specific reference to the text, a key GCSE skill. The final parts of this section look at the ways in which the text has been cut in various film versions of the play and how these omissions might affect the way in which we understand the relationships between characters, as well as the themes and ideas expressed in the play. The third section, the film, makes use of the 4 filmed adaptations of the play and also our own specially filmed version of the scene. It also examines how the look of a production might affect the ways in which we understand what is happening. Thus, we contrast the modern-day look of Luhrmann's 1998 version with, say, the 1936 version, which could give rise to discussion on what textual justifications there might be in creating the different mise-en-scènes in each version. This then leads us on to an examination of the ways in which the scene can be acted in different ways, particularly in relation to our 2 interpretations. Finally, we then look at the way that editing can steer an audience into understanding the performance in a particular way. In this task, we encourage students to think about how a different shot type can affect the ways in which words themselves are understood. Again, starting an investigation from the text itself. The final section, the edit, brings together all the skills, knowledge and understanding that the students have been consolidating and putting that into practice in the final activity. They have put together their own film interpretation from the given production rushes. This requires them to think carefully about the text itself and how they might wish to emphasise certain lines through the use of different types of shot. Again, we start with the text and develop an interpretation which can be based either in the friendly or stern approach. Students then choose different types of shots for specific lines, from one or other of the two versions. In playing back their own versions to the rest of the class, students are therefore able to discuss, compare and contrast their own interpretations. This interactive resource allows for thousands of different types of ways in which the students can actually interpret the text.